Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Counselor's Office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we are back with another Destiny 2 Reacts, where I go over some news for you, and we don't fondle no balls around here. We tell it as it is. We tell whatever truth we can and give you the facts whenever it's available. I'm going to start off by saying this is a developer insights. We're going to go over raids and dungeons and enemy modifiers, and I'm just gonna right off the start, we're gonna say it right now, because instead of me making a jab at Bungie, where I could do that constantly, I'm gonna straight up say that it took 10 years for us to finally get real innovation with enemies. It took the game going downhill, people being laid off, like 10 years, and we're just now being really innovative. Come on, that's a joke. It's pathetic, but still W. We're still getting something. Will it bring people back? Probably not the people that are done with Destiny. It might bring in new players, which is what Bungie needs and wants. That's definitely what Sony wants. So in being honest and fair on both sides, 10 years, what a joke. What a joke of a company. But at the same time, at least they're doing something instead of just sitting there and burning. With that said, let's just move on to raids and dungeons. We'll talk more about modifiers in its own section. In Destiny 2, raids remain a key feature, bringing teams together for epic challenges and the world's first race. Each year, we will see a new raid starting with code name Apollo 1. No longer will we get 2 raids a year. We will now only get 1 raid, which makes sense. I know it sucks, but with 2 expansions, that means we're probably going to get the raid with 1 expansion, and then we're gonna get dungeon with the other expansion. So yes, we are losing content, and as much as that's an L, I'm gonna be honest. We were gonna get Nezarec as a raid boss in the future again, like that kind of boss where the raid just sucks balls. Root of Nightmares was just a nightmare. Really, it was. I would rather have one Vow of Disciple style raid where it's just banger raid than this garbage. I would rather have a banger dungeon like Warlord's Ruin than Spire. I hate the Spire dungeon. It's so bad. And boring. So is the loot, in my opinion. But I would rather have some bangers and then take time to do it. Also, seasons are free. I'm not paying for as much anymore. Dungeons are packaged with the expansion, so you don't have to pay for a dungeon key. I'm loving it. I'm reading off script, so I'm probably going to restate things that I put on it. Sorry. Each year we'll aim to build on the game's rich raids and dungeons. My thing is, God dang it. But screw it. We're going off script because I don't care. Listen. We can get upset. We can get bothered by how it is. I'm okay with this. What I'm not okay with, but we'll get to it in a minute. They're changing how we do raids, like in general, but also raids worlds first. They talk about Salvation's Edge and that experience. We go into the first change they're doing, which is raid feats. Master raids and challenges have had the same format, and that's exactly what they do. They're literally the same thing, but they're introducing raid-specific challenge customizations, which allows you to adjust it the way you want to increase the loot that you get from the raid. That's neat. The more feats active during a run, the better the chances of earning high-tiered rewards, such as time trials. People love that. Speedrunners. Contestant combatants. Contest mode. We've been wanting that for years. W. And other mode modifiers unique to the raid. Raid challenge updates. This is probably the dumbest thing I have ever heard. And this is such a scummy thing for them to do. Let's get into it. In the first major update following codename Apollo, the raid will receive a challenge update. That means the raid will come out. There will be a raid's first challenge. We will do that. And then later, like 6 months later, adding new rewards, new mechanics, new feats, and potentially even new encounters. We're getting half a raid at launch, and then we'll get more of it later. We are being drip-fed raid content now, because instead of making 2 raids a year, we're just going to expand the 1 raid. You have to be dumb as fuck to not see that that's a bad thing. But it gets worse. That's right. This update will kick off with a raid race event and be a venue for experienced raiders to further challenge their skill. We're doing 2 raids first races on the same raid. People were so upset about like raids first races on like Vault of Glass and the reprise raids. Well, we had that first race in D1. Now we're doing it in D2. But wait, now you get to have 2 for the price of 1. Holy crap. That has got to be the most desperate ass thing I've heard. I'm okay with trying to do contest mode for dungeons. Obviously, they're trying to fill in the fact that they're not doing a raid in the second expansion. They can't handle it. Let's be honest. Bungie is incapable. They cannot do good content anymore at the extent that we've been getting. They have to do less to even get, hopefully, the quality of Into the Light. Again, this is me giving them the benefit of the doubt that them doing less will give us more, because sometimes less is more. If we get banger content like Into the Lights, that's great. But if we get watered down bullcrap that I paid for, you're better off playing a free-to-play game like Warframe or First Descendant that has better they're more effort into their encounters. We'll have to see. We don't know how it's actually going to look, but the fact that they're splitting up the content of the raid, but they're also doing a double world's first raid race. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I don't think any other games that have world's first do that. Anyways, that's like the biggest L of this whole update, by the way. New dungeons. Dungeons are an important part of the in-game activity ecosystem. They provide an accessible raid-light experience. Essentially, they're going to be releasing the dungeon in the Behemoth expansion. We already talked about the second half of the dungeon or half of the expansion for the year will have a dungeon that's supposed to be on par with raids. Full armor set, weapon. Let's be honest. Dungeons are raid light. Instead of doing 2 raids and then 2 dungeons, they're doing 1 of 1, and they're making them all essentially 2 raids. We got essentially 2 raids for the year. No, I mean that's essentially what's going on here. They're cutting the fat. Some of the best content was raids and dungeons, but if this improves the quality overall, I'm okay. If we get the same quality we have in the past, this is bullshit. And I know that as a consumer, I have every right to say like, hey, this is what we've been given. As someone who's giving my time and selling my time to this game, if I get less than what I've already been getting, I'm going to complain. I'm going to give feedback about it. It's like portion size. You don't go to a restaurant and they change the portion size and you're like, oh, I'm okay with this. No, you're probably going to go somewhere else where they respect your money. If you're getting right. Let's be honest. Granted, dungeons had to be bought separately. So, and reprise raids, we didn't pay for those either. But I guess we're not getting reprise raids because they mentioned nothing about it. So no Wrath of the Machine, no Leviathan, Scourge of the Past, all these other old content that they sunset. Are we going to get those back? That is a massive L. I want to know. Just tell us, Bungie, do you have the balls to tell people it's either new content or the old content? We effed you all over. We screwed you over. You paid for the content. We're not bringing it back. They don't have the balls. Let's be honest. They don't have the balls to say that. But I'd rather know that the content that people paid for is just forever gone. New rad event. It's Pantheon 2.0. just to summarize, Rad Event is essentially 2.0 Pantheon. I'm excited for it. Pantheon was a banger. Into the Light, great. No negatives about it. And they're essentially putting dungeons and raids in the portal, which only a select few things will have the challenge options. Some other raids will still have to take time to be grandfathered over. All right, I hope I did that fast enough in 10 minutes. Let's see if I can do the rest of it in like 5 minutes. Modifiers. The problem is the game has gotten boring as hell. Everything in the PvE section is redundant. Enemies are boring. It sucks balls. Eventually, you know when each enemy spawns, where to fight them. This is what I say about Grandmasters. Grandmasters are just like Dark Souls. There is no switch up. Once you understand how enemies work, where they spawn, it is so predictable. Like Dark Souls and Elden Ring become a joke. That's why you see people literally like doing Elden Ring with just their fist and naked. It's because they know the game by the back of their hand. They know what attacks are going to happen. They know when it's going to happen. They know where to position themselves, the timing. That's Grandmasters. And it becomes very stale and boring because you've mastered it. They're going to try to solve that with modifiers by making every gameplay unpredictable. First class modifier system. They're going to create combatant-focused modifiers that change the way players approach combat in every playthrough. They're introducing Banes, enemy modifiers, and combat modifiers. So let's just jump into it. Banes, known as combatant affixed modifiers. This, if I'm going to be honest, they took this from Diablo. If you've ever played Diablo, you might have an enemy that has this affix that causes them to blow up when you kill them, or this affix that does shock damage or poison damage to you. Like they do specific things that make the enemies more threatening, especially at the higher tiers, like a level 100 or more. Enemies are like instant nuking you based on some of these combatants in Diablo 4. This is where this is coming from. And this is like an actual like MMO-ish like kind of thing. And I'm down for it. It's about time we experiment. So we got two here, specifically Meteor and Shock. The Meteor Bane gives the combatants the ability to launch solar projectiles at that track and can be shot down. Shock will continuously build up a charge that will discharge on a single target with line of sight, and killing a unit with this Bane causes it to spread to nearby. It's like the anti-volt shot. Kill one and then it shocks everyone else, but they screw you over instead of you killing them. So let's kind of see. I haven't seen these clips yet. So we got the Meteor. Okay, so that's cool. You know, I'm down. It's not just like them shooting a singular boring attack. Okay, so there's the Shock. Yeah, I mean, that's great. I love that. Here is a sneak preview of Berserker. Killing combatants with Berserker causes other combatants to enrage. Okay, so we got the little Berserker. We're killing him. Who is testing this gun? An NPC? Is this AI controlled by Twitch? So they're all getting very aggressive. So Berserker makes them get aggressive. So yeah, okay. We've seen enemies like that, not necessarily as aggressive as that. So that would be good if you know how to abuse it. Punchable. I don't like this one. I just don't like this one at all. Where you have to punch things. Not a fan of it. Essentially, they're immune to range attacks and you have to punch them to break their shield. I hope I can see this getting nerfed in the future. Yeah, I see this getting nerfed. I really do. I don't think the community is ever going to like this one. Yeah. Unless you can one-shot the shield with like a throwing knife or something like that, something's ranged, I don't ever see them... I don't ever see them caring. I don't. Let's see. Nuclear Bane. This one is if you... let's see. It begins an arming sequence. If the unit is not defeated before the sequence completes, explodes a massive fiery shockwave. Like, let's see how explosive this really is. How big? So I see him. He's just chilling. He's going. Okay, I think this is cheating because I would like to see how far. Okay. Whoa. Wow. So that is like an actual like landmine explosion, like the fuses you have to defuse. It's that wide, so it is no joke. You have to kill that. I see that being a pain in the ass too. While Banes will appear intermittently, dude, that's gonna suck ass in raids. And freaking Grandmasters, but specifically raids with randos. While Banes will appear intermittently on individual units, many modifiers are used to range base aspects of all enemies and activities. So what we already have, right? We already have the basic stuff. May end up flat-footed when something unexpected happens. Some enemies have copied some tricks about booby trapping their drops from a famous scorn. So we're gonna get some interesting modifiers. Combat modifiers aren't just about changing enemies. They affect how players play. Surge mods are a classic modifier type that have been used for years that most people don't like. Destiny ritual activity. We've come to realize that too many forceful builds crafting modifier can become barriers for players, so we've been working to create new modifiers that are more accepting of varied strategies and builds. Get rid of the freaking champion mods. That's how you diverse builds. Like, I don't want to have to make a specific elemental build to deal with different champion types so I can use whatever gun I want to use. FAQs. What about champions? Will they be using Bane mods? No, but they will use other mods, like other modifiers, but they won't have Banes. I think it would be too broken. I would absolutely see people saying nerf it immediately. Can Bane stack on enemies? No, one at a time. Huge. Are you replacing all old modifiers? They're gonna keep the oldies, but the goodies. The old ones are going out the door. Did this in 16 minutes. I've said all I said about modifiers. That's a huge W. I like the change. Some of them look interesting. I think the shield one is gonna suck ass. I really do. I can't. If there's ever gonna be one that's getting nerfed, I absolutely see that in the future. I see it. I see it. You can hate it that I'm even mentioning it being nerfed, but I know the community. It's gonna get nerfed eventually. Maybe a couple of months to a year from now, it will definitely get nerfed. Raids. Overall, I like the changes besides the fact that we're getting double raid chase. It won't impact me, but it's also scummy as hell that you're going to have to spend time playing a specific raid. You're only getting half of its content, and you have to come back later for the rest of it. Which means the seal, probably to get the raid, you're going to have to wait multiple months to get, which I think is bullshit. I don't care about seals anymore. I think seals are a joke. They're pointless. So those that want it, but I feel sorry for the raid race people. Like you're going to have to share belts with two different, like another team on the same raid. It's stupid as hell. Now I kind of took a peek at Twitter, and people are really upset. Here's Grenadier Jake saying like they need to take risk. I agree. I've already said my piece about taking 10 years, but let's see what people have to say in the comments. 2 raids, 2 dungeons a year to 1 raid and 1 dungeon. They've gone through 2 rounds of massive layoffs and have limited resources. The writing was on the wall well before today. That's the annual scale for Destiny is going to be smaller. Yes, Destiny 2 is essentially rescinding. It's not being big. It's not massive anymore. You should not expect the way Destiny used to be the same in the future. It's just, they can't do it. Their incompetence have led us here. And whether you think that that's an excuse, it's not. But if you're going to support them, you're going to support them. If you're not, you're not. If you're like me, you're going to play it just so you can make content out of it, because now I get paid for it. Not by them, but I get paid to talk about it and criticize it or give it praise, whichever, Probably mostly criticism, but I will give praise where it's at. People want to complain for the sake of complaining. Destiny will always been at its best when they mix things up. New modifiers, deep customization, rewarding loot are just some ways they're continuing to pave. Again, I agree, but it shouldn't take 10 years to make improvements. Plus, being so loudly vocal about dumping on the game demoralizes people who enjoy it and prevents new players. Again, you're not wrong. If they're taking feedback, if it's feedback, that's okay. If you're just dunking to dunk, then it's not much feedback. But overall, like I feel like it's crazy to have two different raid races. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. I think it's overall, I think there's a lot of W's. Mine 2 L's is the fact that, one, we don't know about legacy content ever returning. That's a huge L. And for many of the community, they have no plans to continue with this game until they get the content they paid for back. 2, double raid race is a joke and an insult. It's not going to in fact impact me. I'm just going to make that very clear, but it's still fucking funny. And the one thing that is going to impact me is the splitting of the raid content and drip feeding it. Like, oh, you get this part of the raid and then, oh, here's the rest of it. Like, I know there's going to be a final boss in the first part of it because there's no shot that they take the final boss fight and be like, you can finish this raid in like 3 to 6 months. Let me know down below. What do you think? Do you think they would do that? I hope to God they don't. Let me know, what do you think overall about this update? I see a lot of good. I don't think this is going to change a lot of things for people who are done with Destiny. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Overall, I do see some promises. Whether Bungie can keep it, those are 2 different things. I'll see you next time. Until next time, game out. Huzzah. God dang it. Why can't I use my script? It could have been like 15 minutes.